From subtle doubling to unexpected mint errors, a handful of Jefferson nickels stand out from millions minted. These ultra-rare coins have a story worth exploring, so stick around, and by the end of this video, you'll discover just how valuable some of these nickels can be. Let's get started. Let's begin with something small. A simple object. A coin so familiar that most people never stop to look at it. This is where today's video starts, with an ordinary 5-cent piece from 1962 that quietly became the most impressive coin on our list. People in the early 1960s used nickels every day. They paid for bus rides, snacks, and small purchases without thinking twice. The Jefferson nickel design had already been around for more than 2 decades, so the coin didn't feel new or unusual. It blended into daily life, just another part of the change people carried in their pockets. The obverse featured Thomas Jefferson, created by sculptor Felix Schlag years earlier. His portrait was clean, balanced, and instantly recognizable. On the reverse, Monticello stood as a clear representation of Jefferson's legacy. Both sides of the coin were familiar and unchanged for years, making this series feel reliable and predictable. In 1962, the United States Mint continued producing millions of these nickels to keep up with national demand. The coin-making process had become refined and efficient. Metal blanks were punched, polished, and struck at high speed. Every part of the workflow was designed for consistency. Still, even with careful planning, small variations could occur. And in this particular year, a variation appeared that no one at the Mint noticed at first. A slight shift happened during the preparation of one of the obverse dies. It wasn't major enough to disrupt production but just significant enough to leave a mark. This shift caused a doubling effect on the front of the coin. The word "Liberty," the motto, "In God We Trust," and even the date showed signs of being struck twice. The doubling was clean, subtle, and visible only under close examination. Most people handling the coin at the time would not have seen anything unusual. Coins like this, with the doubling created directly on the die, are known as double die obverse pieces. The term simply describes the source of the doubling, the die itself, not the strike. This distinction matters to collectors because it signals a true minting variety, not accidental machine doubling. Only a limited number of these 1962 nickels were produced before the die was replaced. The Mint corrected the issue, and production returned to normal. That short production window created the scarcity we recognize today. While millions of nickels continued to circulate, only a very small fraction carried this doubling. Most of the doubled coins were used in everyday transactions. Over years of circulation, they picked up scratches, wear, and discoloration. Each touch removed a bit of detail from the original design. As a result, high-grade examples, especially those with clear doubling, are extremely hard to find today. Collectors value this coin for several reasons. First, it represents a clear minting variety with identifiable features. Second, the number of surviving high-quality examples is extraordinarily low. And third, it reflects a moment in minting history when a small shift created something entirely unplanned. Throughout the decades, interest in mint-era coins has grown steadily. Collectors today appreciate how each era tells a different story about how coins are made. The 1962 double die is not flashy or exaggerated. Instead, it's a precise example of how careful inspection can uncover something special. Numismatists often discuss how the Jefferson Nickel series contains only a handful of major double die varieties. That makes this 1962 piece even more appealing. It is not simply an error, it is one of the few significant double dies in the entire series. Coin grading services have rated some surviving examples, and the highest quality pieces show sharp details, clean surfaces, and crisp doubling. These top-grade coins are the ones that capture the attention of advanced collectors. Owning a coin like this isn't just about having something rare. It's about holding a piece of minting history that remained unnoticed for years. It shows how an everyday object can quietly carry an unexpected feature that only a trained eye can appreciate. Many collectors who search for 1962 nickels do so with the hope of finding one more example in the wild. Although extremely unlikely, the possibility keeps people checking their old change jars, inherited collections, and rolls of coins from banks. The chance of discovery, no matter how small, adds to the coin's appeal. The market value for rare coins depends on condition, scarcity, and collector interest. This coin combines all three. Its value has climbed steadily as more collectors learn about it and as fewer high-grade examples remain unclaimed. When one of these coins appears at an auction, it usually attracts significant attention. Collectors who understand its rarity are willing to compete strongly for the chance to own one. Each sale helps define the market price and strengthens the coin's reputation as an important mint variety. Today, the 1962 double-die obverse nickel stands as one of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever discovered. It represents the perfect mix of rarity, quality, and minting history. It also serves as a reminder that even the simplest coins can hold something uncommon. And now, here is the part we've been building toward, the current highest value recorded for this coin. After careful grading and strong competition at auction, a top-condition example of the 1962 double-die obverse nickel has reached a remarkable final price. This coin has sold for $107,000. A quiet reminder that sometimes, extraordinary value can be found in the most familiar places. The next coin on our list is one that many people have seen hundreds of times without ever noticing anything special about it. It's the 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel, a coin that quietly blended into everyday life. Most people never imagined that certain examples of this coin would eventually become one of the most surprising discoveries in the Jefferson Nickel series. In 1989, the United States Mint was operating with modern equipment and large-scale production goals. Millions of nickels were created and released into circulation. They moved through banks, cash registers, and pockets across the country. Nothing about the year suggested that any version of the nickel would become noteworthy. The design itself was nothing new. It carried the long-standing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front, the same portrait that Americans had seen since 1938. The reverse showed Monticello, Jefferson's well-known Virginia home. These images had become so familiar that people rarely gave them a second glance. The 1989 P. nickel simply continued this tradition, joining the long line of Jefferson nickels already in circulation. But hidden within that massive production run, a small number of coins were created from a die that wasn't perfectly aligned during preparation. It was a subtle shift, the kind of thing that might go unnoticed unless someone looked closely. Still, it left a clear impression on the coins it struck. This shift caused what collectors now refer to as a double-die variety. The doubling appears on parts of the obverse design, easing into the details of the date and certain letters. It isn't extreme or bold, but it's unmistakable once you know what to look for. The repetition of the design elements gives the coin a quiet but unique identity. Because the minting process moved quickly, this die was used only briefly before being replaced. That meant the number of nickels affected was small. Once the mint corrected the issue, production continued normally with no signs of doubling on the later coins. Like most modern nickels, the majority of the 1989 P nickels entered circulation immediately. These coins were used for decades in everyday transactions, and the double-die pieces blended in with the rest. Years passed before collectors began to recognize how rare the variety truly was. By the time people started searching for it, many of the doubled nickels had already undergone heavy wear. Surfaces lost their shine, details softened, and small imperfections appeared. This made it difficult to find clean, high-quality examples that clearly showed the doubling. That scarcity in top condition quickly elevated the importance of the variety. Collectors who study Jefferson nickels noted that the 1980s did not produce many notable double dies, which made this 1989 P variety even more meaningful. It stood out in a decade that otherwise offered very few significant minting varieties. As interest in modern coin errors grew, people began examining their pocket change more carefully. Some discovered coins they had saved years earlier without knowing their hidden value. Others searched through rolls of nickels with the hope of spotting the small but distinct doubling. In both cases, it became clear that the surviving population of this variety was far smaller than many expected. Coins that manage to remain in exceptional condition are especially impressive. Their surfaces retain the clean, sharp details needed to show the doubling clearly. The date appears crisp, the letters have definition, and the overall appearance is noticeably stronger than that of a circulated coin. These are the examples that collectors value most. This coin also highlights an important aspect of numismatics: valuable finds are not limited to old or historic coins. Modern coins can carry small but significant differences that set them apart. The 1989 P double die nickel is a reminder that careful observation, even with newer coins, can reveal something unexpected. Collectors appreciate the clarity of the doubling, the rarity of high-grade survivors, and the significance of the variety within the Jefferson Nickel series. It has become a key piece for anyone building a complete collection that includes modern minting errors. Over the years, the recognition of this coin has continued to grow. More people have learned about it through coin publications, collector discussions, and detailed examinations of modern varieties. As knowledge spreads, the demand for well-preserved examples increases, strengthening the coin's position as one of the most desirable nickels from the late 20th century. It's interesting to think about how many of these coins were casually spent in everyday life without anyone realizing their unique features. They passed through countless hands before their importance was discovered. And now, the few that remain in top condition represent one of the highlights of modern U.S. coin production. Today, this variety stands as a strong example of how a simple shift during die preparation can lead to a long-lasting numismatic interest. It also shows how even a small variation can create a coin that collectors will search for, study, and value for decades to come. And now we arrive at the part that highlights the true importance of the 1989 P double die nickel. With its rarity, condition sensitivity, and growing collector interest, the finest known examples have reached a remarkable level of value. A top-grade 1989 P Jefferson nickel with this doubling has been valued at $58,000. A striking reminder that even a modern nickel can carry far more significance than most people would ever expect. Now let's move on to our third nickel of today's video, a coin from a year that feels surprisingly close to the present when compared to most collectible nickels. This one is the 1992 P Jefferson Nickel, a coin that millions of people used every single day without having any idea that a few special examples from that year carried a quiet but important difference. In 1992, the United States Mint was operating with a stable, efficient production system. Technology had improved, quality control was stronger than in earlier decades, and coin production moved at a fast and steady pace. The Jefferson Nickel design had already been in circulation for more than 50 years, and by that point, its appearance felt almost timeless. On the front of the coin, Jefferson's portrait remained unchanged, continuing the long-standing tradition that began in 1938. Monticello stayed on the reverse, its architecture clean and balanced, representing continuity in American coinage. These familiar design elements meant that people rarely took time to examine the nickel closely. It felt predictable, consistent, and ordinary. But even in years when minting processes were more refined, small variations could still occur. And in 1992, one of the working dies used at the Philadelphia Mint developed a slight misalignment during preparation. It was not enough to disrupt production, but it was enough to create an observable doubling effect on the obverse of a limited number of coins. This doubling appears on certain parts of the date and some of the lettering. It isn't bold or dramatic, but once examined under proper lighting, it becomes clearly visible. That small shift, barely noticeable to the naked eye, turned an otherwise common nickel into a meaningful variety for collectors. Because the issue was corrected early, the number of nickels struck with this doubling remained small. They entered circulation as normal, mixing with millions of regular 1992 P nickels. Most people spent them without ever realizing they were holding something different. Over time, these coins experienced the same everyday wear as any other nickel: pocket friction, surface scratches, and general handling. When collectors eventually took interest in modern double-die varieties, many of these coins had already lost the sharp detail needed to show the doubling clearly. That made well-preserved examples extremely difficult to find. The small number originally produced combined with years of circulation created a rarity that wasn't immediately obvious but became clearer as collectors studied the period more closely. For numismatists who focus on Jefferson nickels, the early 1990s did not produce many notable double-die varieties. That alone gives the 1992 P nickel a special place in modern collections. It's one of the few significant varieties that collectors look for from this era, making it a key piece for anyone trying to assemble a complete, detailed set. Collectors especially value coins that remain in high grade. On these examples, the doubling is easier to see, the lines are cleaner, and the coin's overall appearance shows minimal wear. Such pieces represent only a tiny percentage of the already small population of double-die coins from 1992. Most of the surviving examples with the variety show signs of heavy circulation, so finding one in excellent condition is considered quite an achievement. This coin also highlights something important about modern collecting: discoveries aren't limited to old, historic dates. Even coins from the 1990s, coins people still find in drawers, old jars, and small containers, can hold unexpected details. The 1992 P double-die variety proves that modern coins deserve just as much careful observation as older ones. As more collectors learned about this variety, interest increased steadily. People began checking older pocket change, searching through rolls, and revisiting collections they had stored away years earlier. Many were surprised to find that something as common as a 1992 nickel could actually contain a collectible feature worth noting. This growing interest helped the coin earn its place among the standout Jefferson nickels of the modern era. The combination of a clear minting difference, limited original production, and true scarcity in high grade allowed the 1992 P double-die nickel to rise in importance over time. The coin's appeal continues today. It's an example of how a very small shift during die preparation can lead to something that collectors appreciate years later. It serves as a reminder that precision matters in minting, and even the slightest variation can create a coin with long-lasting interest. As the study of modern coins expands, this variety remains one of the most discussed and sought-after nickels from the early 1990s. Collectors now recognize that while the design may look the same as countless other Jefferson nickels, the details on this particular variety tell a different story. And now we reach the part that truly highlights the importance of this coin. When preserved in its finest condition, showing clear doubling, sharp detail, and clean surfaces, the 1992 P double-die Jefferson nickel has reached a value of $52,000. A strong outcome for a coin many people once received in everyday change without ever noticing anything special. Up next is a coin from the early 2000s that might seem ordinary at first glance, but it carries a story that makes it stand out in the Jefferson Nickel series. This is the 2003 P Jefferson Nickel, a piece that circulated widely and was handled by millions of people, yet a small subset of these coins contains a rare feature that collectors prize highly. In 2003, the United States Mint was operating with highly refined machinery and strong quality control. Coins were produced in massive quantities, and the Jefferson Nickel design had become one of the most familiar images in American currency. On the obverse, Thomas Jefferson's profile remained steady and recognizable, and Monticello appeared on the reverse, a symbol of architectural and historical continuity. These features made the coin instantly recognizable, but that familiarity also made it easy to overlook subtle differences. Despite the mint's modern processes, a small production anomaly occurred. During the preparation of one of the Philadelphia dies, a very slight misalignment happened, creating a subtle doubling effect on certain parts of the obverse. The doubling is most noticeable on sections of the date and specific letters in the word Liberty. It is not immediately obvious without careful inspection, but once identified, it marks the coin as part of a very limited group. The production of this variety was short-lived. The misaligned die was quickly corrected, meaning only a tiny number of coins were struck with this subtle error before normal minting resumed. As a result, these double-die nickels entered circulation quietly and were used just like any other coin. For years, they passed from pocket to pocket, lost in cash drawers, vending machines, and jars of spare change. Because most of these coins circulated heavily, the majority showed typical wear, small scratches, surface imperfections, and slightly softened details. This makes coins that remain in high-grade condition extremely rare and desirable. Collectors who understand how to identify the doubling know that only a small fraction of the original group has survived in a state that clearly displays the feature. What makes this coin particularly interesting is that it challenges the idea that modern coins cannot be valuable or collectible. A coin from 2003 is still familiar in circulation, and many people may still have one in their wallet or coin jar without realizing it could carry a hidden distinction. The 2003 P-double die nickel shows that even in recent decades, small minting variations can create remarkable opportunities for collectors who know where to look. Collectors value the coin not just for its rarity, but also for the clarity of the doubling. High-grade examples show crisp lines, well-defined lettering, and sharp date details that make the variety unmistakable. These coins also demonstrate how careful observation and attention to detail can reveal unexpected gems in coins that are otherwise considered ordinary. Interest in this coin has grown steadily over the years. Enthusiasts began examining old change, checking rolls, and even revisiting coins stored away for years. The appeal of discovering a modern nickel that differs from the millions of standard examples sparked excitement in the collecting community. Over time, the 2003 P-double die nickel earned recognition as one of the standout varieties from the early 21st century. The story of this coin also highlights the importance of preservation. A coin that spent years in circulation rarely shows the doubling clearly. That makes surviving examples in pristine condition incredibly valuable. Collectors prize them not only for the rarity of the minting error but also for the fact that they display the error with exceptional clarity. In addition, this coin illustrates how careful study of modern issues can uncover hidden treasures. Even among large mintages, small anomalies can transform an ordinary piece into a collectible rarity. It also encourages coin enthusiasts to handle each piece carefully, check for subtle variations, and appreciate the craftsmanship involved in the minting process. Some collectors even view this nickel as a bridge between the older classic Jefferson nickels and modern collecting. It shows how minting errors from recent years can hold historical significance, connect collectors to production methods, and create an entirely new category of interest for those who focus on modern varieties. Now, instead of simply stating the value, let's imagine holding this coin in your hand. A seemingly ordinary 2003 P nickel, tucked among dozens of others, suddenly reveals a small but noticeable difference. For a collector lucky enough to find one in top condition, with clean surfaces and clear doubling, this coin could command a value of $30,000, an extraordinary sum for a coin many people once spent without a second thought. For those who enjoy hunting for modern mint varieties, the 2003 P-double die nickel offers both challenge and reward. It encourages collectors to inspect coins closely, pay attention to subtle details, and never underestimate the potential significance of what may seem like a recent, ordinary piece. This nickel is a perfect example of how modern coins can develop historical significance over time. While many circulated freely and were spent without notice, the limited number that retained their original quality now tells a story about production, minting precision, and collector interest that is just as compelling as coins from older decades. In the last spot of our lineup is a coin that many would consider very modern, yet it has a unique feature that makes it worth paying attention to before spending or tossing it aside. This is the 2012 P. Jefferson Nickel, a coin that circulated widely but includes subtle characteristics that make it stand out in the eyes of collectors. The Jefferson Nickel design had been familiar to Americans for decades by this point. On the obverse, Thomas Jefferson's profile is precise and steady, reflecting the classic design that has endured for generations. On the reverse, Monticello stands as a symbol of history and continuity. In 2012, the coins were produced using advanced minting technology, which allowed for sharp details and clean strikes. To the casual observer, it might appear just like any other nickel in circulation. However, among the millions of nickels produced, a small number developed errors that make them special. These errors could appear as minor doubling on the date or lettering, unusual die cracks, or slight misalignments in the design. Such differences are subtle and often overlooked unless the coin is examined carefully under good lighting or with magnification. The limited number of error coins from 2012 means that they are inherently rare compared to standard circulation pieces. Even though the majority of these nickels look identical to the regular issue, those with errors can become highly desirable for collectors who specialize in modern varieties. The appeal is not in the age of the coin but in its uniqueness and the story it tells about the minting process. Condition plays an especially important role with modern coins like this one. Many circulated coins show signs of handling, light scratches, surface marks, and slight wear that can obscure subtle errors. A coin that has remained in pristine condition, retaining its original luster, sharp detail, and clear edges, is far more likely to attract attention from collectors. In many cases, the quality of preservation can be as significant as the rarity of the error itself. The 2012 P nickel also illustrates a key point about modern coin collecting. Interesting finds are not limited to historic or antique coins. Even coins from recent decades can hold surprises for those who look carefully. A collector who examines rolled coins, loose change, or stored coin jars may discover that what seems ordinary carries a subtle feature that distinguishes it from the millions of standard examples. For collectors, this coin represents both a challenge and an opportunity. Identifying a minting error requires attention to detail and careful examination, and finding one that is in excellent condition is even more rewarding. These modern errors show that the minting process, even in the 21st century, can produce unexpected variations that are of interest to numismatists. The coin also reminds us of the importance of observation and care. Many people spend nickels without a second thought, unaware that even a coin from 2012 could contain a feature that makes it collectible. Taking a closer look before spending or discarding a coin can reveal hidden value and turn a seemingly ordinary piece of change into a numismatic find worth preserving. Collectors also find value in the educational aspect of such coins. Studying modern minting errors helps enthusiasts understand how coins are produced, how dies can vary, and how small shifts during production can create unique characteristics. This knowledge allows collectors to spot potential treasures in everyday change and appreciate the precision involved in coin production. A coin like the 2012 P. Jefferson Nickel emphasizes the idea that condition and rarity often go hand in hand. Coins that are uncirculated, with minimal wear and fully intact features, provide the best opportunity to observe subtle errors. Even a small scratch or mark can obscure doubling or other anomalies, which is why careful handling and proper storage are crucial for collectors seeking to maintain or enhance the value of their finds. The story of this coin also highlights the broader appeal of modern numismatics. It encourages people to explore coins that are familiar and seemingly ordinary, demonstrating that hidden gems can exist in the most unexpected places. For young collectors and those new to the hobby, modern coins like this nickel can be a perfect starting point, showing that exciting discoveries are not limited to old or historic coins. In summary, the 2012 P. Jefferson Nickel is an example of a modern coin that deserves a second look before being spent. Its potential collectability stems from its errors and condition, proving that even coins from recent years can hold interest for collectors. By examining each coin closely and paying attention to subtle variations, what seems ordinary can reveal itself as extraordinary, offering a small but meaningful glimpse into the world of modern numismatics. So, before you use or discard a 2012 P nickel, take a moment to inspect it. Look carefully for unusual markings, doubled elements, or subtle inconsistencies. You might be surprised to discover a modern coin with a hidden story, one that is far more significant than its face value would suggest. And that wraps up our incredible lineup of nickels for this video. From historic finds to modern varieties, each coin tells its own unique story and reminds us that even the most ordinary-looking pieces of change can hold surprising value. If you enjoyed exploring these coins and learning about their history, errors, and collector appeal, don't forget to hit that like button. Your support helps us keep sharing these fascinating stories from the world of numismatics. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss our future coin discoveries, tips, and collector insights. There's always something new to uncover, and who knows, you might find the next hidden treasure in your own change jar. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video with more amazing coins and stories from the fascinating world of collecting.